The caregiver stipend is not permanent. 60 days is all the notice you get before it drops. Professor Nakamura lives inside Board of Veterans' Appeals decisions, and the caregiver files are the ones he knows cold. And there's one review lane the VA never warns you about that quietly refuses the exact evidence you'd bring.
Chris here. That deadline isn't a courtesy, it's a rule. The decrease can't take effect any sooner, which means the letter in your hand is a clock, not a verdict.
Today we're going past how a family gets into this program, into what happens once you're already in it and something changes.
I'm Nova, and the word that decides the size of that check is levels. There are two of them, and almost nobody is told which one they're on until it moves.
Level 2 pays the full monthly stipend rate. Level 1 pays 62.5% of it. Same program, same caregiver, same house, and more than a third of the money is gone.
Worse version. Skip a reassessment and you're not downgraded, you're removed.
4 review lanes exist. Every one of them runs on a clock, and the clocks aren't the same length.
The pattern in these decisions is almost always the same. The evidence was fine, the calendar wasn't. Somebody read the letter, felt sick, put it on the counter, and came back 3 weeks later with a third of the window spent.
Nova, this next part is the one people get wrong, so ask it the way you asked me off-air.
I'd rather not be the one asking it. If the VA already decided I'm level 1, is fighting it worth the year it takes?
Sometimes no, say that out loud instead of selling everybody an appeal. And it's not for you if you're a secondary family caregiver. The stipend belongs to the designated primary.
2 different things, Chris, and only one is worth a year. All of today's forms and deadlines are free at va.professorerica.com. Now, the reason matters. The VA's position on reassessments changed this year, and the part nobody warns you about is what they put in its place. Miss it and you'll argue all window against a rule that isn't. Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it. That isn't there anymore. Which is why a reassessment in 2026 is not the thing most families are braced for. On paper, it's a visit. A VA clinician comes to the home, watches the care that actually happens, and scores whether the veteran could sustain themselves without you.
Annual, by regulation. Title 38, Part 71.30 says the veteran and the family caregiver get reassessed on an annual basis. And it says something harsher than that too.
Failure to participate is revocation, not a warning, not a downgrade. What's the word they use? Revocation, that one. You lose the designation for missing the appointment.
That's the regulation. The VA's own caregiver page now says something the regulation doesn't.
VA is suspending annual reassessments while it reviews the eligibility criteria. Their words on caregiver.va.gov. They will not remove anyone from the program or decrease any support based on reassessments.
Which is enormous, and also not a permanent shield. And I don't want anyone hearing only half of
9 words. Suspended is not the same as canceled. One door stays open on purpose. Ask to be considered for a higher stipend level or show your veteran needs more personal care, and VA still starts a reassessment. The review you invite still runs.
The second protection sits underneath all of that, and it has an actual expiration date, legacy participants.
Caregiver approved on or before September 30th, 2020, VA extended your transition period, and through it no reassessment can cut your stipend. That runs to September 30th, 2028.
And be blunt about who that doesn't cover. Approved after September 30th, 2020, you're not legacy, and none of that protection is yours. Exceptions hit the legacy cohort too. You can still be discharged if you ask, or revoked for noncompliance. Protection from a downgrade isn't protection from yourself.
There's a paper trail nobody thinks about. What the clinician writes on that visit becomes the finding, and the finding becomes the decision you'd appeal.
Before we go further, see who this program is actually paying. It's easy to talk multipliers and forget the room they land in.
This is Jim Sursley, talking with disabled American veterans. Watch the card at the end.
32 years. That's not a benefit application. That's a second career nobody wrote down.
32 years, and the rules are only the receipt for it. Okay, different animal entirely. Downgrade and discharge are not the same letter, and Professor Nakamura's still with us to prove it.
People use downgrade and discharge like synonyms. They're two different cliffs with two different drops.
But the letter already tells you which one you're on. Page 1, first paragraph.
The difference is money and time, not tone, so put them against each other. Downgrade first, you stay enrolled. Level 2 becomes Level 1, and the check drops to 62.5%.
And it cannot take effect for 60 days. The regulation sets the effective date no earlier than 60 days after VA gives advance notice.
So there's a shelf. You're still being paid at the old rate while the clock runs.
That's exactly it. Call it the 60-day shelf. It's the only free ground you get.
Now discharge. Different shelf, and the length depends on who started it, so people guess and get it.
30 days either way, surely. It's one program.
90 if the VA drives it. Your veteran stops meeting the requirements. Benefits run 90 days past discharge. 30 is what you get when you asked out.
Which is a brutal asymmetry, so I'd tattoo it on the fridge. Quit, and you buy 30 days. Get moved, and you get 90.
It's the same money, different door. And I meal prep my whole week on a Sunday, so trust me, that runway is not a lot of Sundays.
You said noncompliance. What is noncompliance in one sentence?
Not doing what the program requires. File the 526, no, backwards. The 526 Easy is the disability claim. Here it's the caregiver requirements, training, visits, participation.
And revocation for non-compliance carries its own 60 days. The effective date is no earlier than 60 days after VA provides advance notice of its findings.
Park that number, because it keeps showing up. Wait until you hear the one place it doesn't apply at all.
Professor Nakamura, that split between who started it is the part I'd never have found. Thank you for it.
Seconded. That's the one I'd have got wrong on air, and did.
Then read who the letter says made the decision. That one line sets your clock.
90 days, 30 days, 60 days. 3 clocks, 1 envelope, and the envelope decides which one you're on. Nova, you pulled the review options off of va.gov. What decides which lanes a family even gets?
The date on the decision. If VA issued it on or after February 19, 2019, you get 4 ways in. Older than that, and you're on a narrower.
2019. That date is doing all the work.
It is. Older decisions run a narrower legacy track, and the 4-lane menu isn't offered.
Step 1 is reading a date. Before the anger, before the phone call.
That's the promise I made at the top, so let me pay it. One of the 4 lanes forbids new evidence, and it has the most reassuring name.
Higher level review. A senior reviewer looks again on exactly the record you already have. You cannot submit anything new with it.
So, if the reassessment missed a new diagnosis, that's the worst possible door. The thing that would win your case isn't allowed through it.
Which sounds like a trap, and to be fair, it isn't. Higher level review is the correct lane when the record already proves your case and somebody read it wrong. That happens constantly. If your file shows the veteran can't be left alone and the decision says otherwise, you don't need new evidence. You need a second pair of eyes, faster. Pick by what your file holds, not by which lane sounds strongest.
And it forks cleanly. New evidence one way, no new evidence the other. Medical judgment somewhere else entirely. Supplemental claim, VA Form 20-0995, is the new evidence lane. That's where the doctor's letter goes.
Hold on. Is a clinical appeal actually an appeal or a different animal?
Different animal. A clinical appeal goes to your VA facility's chief of staff, and new medical evidence is allowed. Clinical judgment, not legal.
Then the board. VA Form 10182, a veterans law judge, 1 year from the date on your decision.
I came in certain higher level review was everybody's first move. That rule just took it off me. I was wrong.
Here's what I'd actually do. File already proves it. Higher level review. It's fastest. Anything missing. Supplemental claim. Send the evidence. Fight is clinical. Clinical appeal. The board is for when the first answer is still wrong.
There's a fifth move nobody lists. Don't appeal at all. Reapply later when the care needs are heavier and documented. For some families, that's the better play.
It is appeal when the decision is wrong about today. Reapply when today has changed.
If you know a caregiver holding one of these letters, send them this. That no new evidence rule costs a year, and nobody tells them.
Everything so far keeps money in the house. The next few minutes is where families lose it on a technicality.
I'll say the unglamorous thing. This gets lost to a calendar far more often than it gets lost to a rule. So day one is a pen and the letter. Circle the decision date. That date starts every clock in this video.
Take a composite example. Denise is 58 in Ohio, and she's been her husband's caregiver at level 2 for 4 years.
Say the monthly stipend rate where she lives is $2,800. That's her level 2 check because level 2 multiplies the rate by 1. Now drop her to level 1. 62.5% of $2,800. That's $1,750. So the gap is $1,050 a month. $1,050. Exactly. $1,750 is what lands. Over a year, that gap is $12,600, and Denise gets 60 days of warning first.
Which is why the 60-day shelf, to borrow Grace's word, is the planning window. You're still on the old rate. Use it. Yeah. So where does the paper physically go?
2 different places, and people get this wrong constantly. Supplemental claim and higher level review go to the Evidence Intake Center in Janesville, Wisconsin.
The board appeal doesn't. Form 10182 goes to Washington, D.C. Same fight, 2 envelopes.
It's what I keep hitting, mapping my family's recipes back to their provinces. Same dish across 4 islands. Wrong island, wrong answer.
And call the caregiver support line first. 1-855-260-3274. 5 minutes before you fill in anything.
Grace, you promised one place the deadline doesn't apply. Is it 30? That's the only number left.
The real question is who's doing the leaving. That advance notice is VA warning you before VA changes something. The 30 isn't a notice at all. It's what's left after you discharge yourself, and nobody warns you because you're the one who moved.
That's the episode in one line. Don't quit the program to dodge a fight you'd win.
Carry this home. A reassessment letter is a clock, not a verdict, and it only runs against you if nobody in the house reads it. If this made the next 60 days less frightening, hit like and subscribe. We keep these caregiver rules current, and they move. If your family had to choose, would you appeal the decision or reapply when the care gets heavier? Read the letter tonight and be kinder to yourself than the paperwork is. This is Grace, and I'll see you next time.